Folks, yesterday, the first day of the Tyler Robinson preliminary hearing, didn't just give us evidence, it gave us a roadmap of how the prosecution plans to frame this case, how the defense intends to dismantle this case, and how the judge is navigating a courtroom that is under massive national pressure. This isn't a normal hearing. This isn't a normal defendant. And this isn't a normal courtroom. You got a death penalty charge. You got political figures in attendance. You got a national media watching every single move. And you got a judge who knows every decision he makes in this case will be dissected for decades to come if this case certainly ends up in a conviction. Now, we're going to break down day one, what it revealed, what was implied, and what's coming next. You're going to love it. Speaking of next, the Joe Rossano Show is next. Welcome to the Joe Rossano Show. Hi, I am Joe Rossano. Let's start with the obvious. The prosecution didn't walk into this hearing to win anything. They walked in to prove just enough to move the case forward, enough to satisfy the procedure, enough to show the judge they're not bluffing. I would say they did exactly that. All right. Now, if you ask the criminal defense team, they laid out clearly that this hearing isn't optional. The prosecution has to demonstrate that they have enough evidence that justifies a trial. And they showed their hand, not their whole hand. They didn't show all their cards, but just enough cards to establish the framing. We learned about a possible alternate firearm that wasn't fully investigated, a sniper pad referenced by detectives, a list of potential witnesses who may testify against young Tyler Robinson, and a judge who insisted on viewing sensitive video evidence privately because it wasn't redacted enough for public release. That drives me nuts. That really, really does. They redact things, or they think that we're not smart enough, or the jury's not smart enough, or the people aren't smart enough to view evidence without them saying that it's okay. Now, before I get into all of this, I'm going to kindly ask you to please click the subscribe button. Please share this episode. It's important. Please like, please comment. I'll read them right here on air. Please click the notification bell for our latest episodes of the Joe Rossano Show. So, this judge is not playing games. He's protecting the integrity of the trial as best he can. The jury pool and the constitutional rights of young Tyler Robinson. Even while the courtroom is packed with high-profile observers. And that's where this gets interesting. Because while the prosecution is laying out evidence, the defense is doing something equally important. They are objecting to everything. Every piece of evidence, every assumption, every witness statement, every procedural step. And they have to. This is a death penalty case, folks. Nicole DeBoard, that is one of Tyler Robinson's attorneys, said it plainly. The defense must scrutinize every single thing the prosecution presents. Here's the evidence, objection. Here's the evidence, objection. Here's the evidence, objection. They must challenge the reliability, the admissibility, the chain of custody, the investigative thoughtfulness, every bit of it. Now, they did. They pushed back on the man on the roof identification. They pushed back on the timelines. They pushed back on the investigative assumptions. They pushed back on hearsay. Now, this is very important. Pay close attention. Hearsay matters here because you see, in the preliminary hearing, hearsay is allowed, but in a trial, it won't be. That means some of what we heard yesterday will never be heard again once the jury's seated. And that's why day one is so important. It's the only time we, the public, get to see certain pieces of evidence before they disappear behind trial rules. Now, let's talk about the judge. The judge is under enormous pressure. We've seen this before. Judge Lance Ito back in 94, the OJ trial, and this was before social media. So when you look around the courtroom, who do you see? You see Erica Kirk. You've got the son of the president in the room. You got a national media who is scrutinizing everything. You got a courtroom full of people who already have opinions, folks. The judge knows this. He knows the appeals process in a death penalty case can last decades. He knows every decision he makes during this preliminary will be scrutinized by every appellate court, federal court, and even could rise to the Supreme Court. So he's doing everything by the book. No shortcuts, no leaks, no public opinion commentation, no public opinion contamination. He even shut off microphones to privately view video evidence that wasn't redacted enough, again, for public release. Again, that drives me nuts. That's not caution, that's discipline. And then there's the bombshell. A police witness testified that Tyler Robinson visited the campus 4 times on the day of the shooting. Twice before, once during, and once after. This is new. The defense didn't even know this. They had a kind of a broad idea of the evidence, but not to this level of detail. And that's the point of the preliminary hearing. It forces both sides to reveal what they have. Now, today, we're expecting the first officer who questioned young Tyler Robinson after he was detained. That's going to be huge because the defense will be listening for leading questions, assumptions, preformed opinions, investigative bias, whether the officer was gathering information or assuming information. And that matters because if the initial questioning was flawed, the defense will use it to undermine the prosecution's narrative. We also learned that writings may be introduced, and these are writings where Tyler Robinson allegedly confesses to others. Those will carry weight with the jury. But again, hearsay yesterday doesn't guarantee admissibility today. And then there's the alternate weapon. This is the part that jumped out. A witness referenced an additional firearm that wasn't clearly analyzed. That's not a small detail, folks. That's a potential alternate shooter theory. That's a potential investigative oversight. That's a potential reasonable doubt generator, and the defense will hammer it. Because if the prosecution didn't fully investigate a second weapon, that opens the door to questions about tunnel vision, incomplete evidence collection, and premature conclusions. So basically, what they're saying is the only thing they did was focus in on Tyler Robinson. That's it. That's that. They did not do anything else or look at anyone else. This is why day one mattered. It sets the tone. It reveals the cracks. It shows pressure points. And it tells us exactly where this case is heading. So let's review. The judge will, you heard it here, will move this case forward. The bar is so low, folks. Somebody could say, hey, Joe Rossano was in the state of Utah, and the judge will say, we'll move this forward for trial. So we know that. But he is being meticulous because of the death penalty implications. The prosecution showed enough evidence to justify a trial. They included video, witness testimony, and investigative findings. The defense objected to everything, as they should. Death penalty cases require maximum scrutiny and even a higher level of scrutiny in this case. Hearsay is allowed now, but it won't be allowed at the trial. Some evidence shown yesterday will never be shown again. Sensitive video was viewed privately by the judge. He didn't feel it was redacted enough for public release. Again, that bothers me. Young Robinson allegedly visited the campus 4 times that day. This is new and strategically important. An alternate weapon may exist, and it wasn't fully analyzed. Huge opening for the defense. High profile observers. Increased pressure on the judge. He's building a record that will survive decades of appeals, and at least that's what he's trying to do. Now, today's testimony from the first questioning officer is critical. Defense will attack assumptions, bias, and the investigative method. Now, that's something we really need to keep in mind. So, day one didn't give us a verdict. It gave us a direction. It showed how the prosecution plans to frame this case, how the defense plans to dismantle this case, and how the judge plans to protect the integrity of the process because he knows he's going to get scrutinized like Judge Lance Ito did in the OJ trial. And again, there was no social media then. This isn't just a trial, it's a test. It's a test of the procedure, of the pressure of the evidence, and the system itself. So, today the stakes get higher, the testimony gets deeper, and the cracks in the narrative, whichever side they belong to, will start to show. I'll be breaking down every minute of it because cases like this don't just reveal guilt or innocence. They reveal truth. And truth always shows up early if you know where to look. And that's right here on the Joe Rossano Show. Now, my dearest friends and fellow Americans, I do graciously appreciate you hanging out with your pal, Joe Rossano. Kindly ask you to please subscribe, like, comment, share, click that notification bell for our latest episodes of the Joe Rossano Show. If you get time, if you are so inclined, please adopt yourself a pet. God bless you, my dearest friends and fellow Americans, and we will see you next time.